We certainly have a lot of faith in our leadership, as well as Kate Granger and her working group. A number of us have gone down to the border several times to address this scenario. We've listened to the American public. We went down to understand from Border Patrol what needs to be done. We have a bill on the floor. Ted Cruz can work on a solution in the body that he's elected to represent. We look forward to his solutions in the Senate. That's something he's going to have to work through.
There are only a few things that would qualify as a true disaster in Washington, D.C. Their supply of single malt scotch runs out at the local watering holes. The president has really good jokes at the annual correspondents' dinner, or their 5-week vacation gets postponed because of some silly reason like the actual governing of the country gets in the way. Seriously, there is chaos under and around the dome this day, as immigration and going nose to nose with opposing viewpoints is the letter of the day, and America is none too pleased. We'll welcome into MidPoint former governor of Virginia from 1998 to 2002, former counterintelligence agent in the U.S. Army, now president and CEO of the Free Congress Foundation. James Gilmore joins us today. Governor, thank you so much for being here.
Good. Thank you very much for having me.
Governor, how distressing is it to you, first of all, to see the discourse that is going on in the Republican Party right now in what seems to many to be a nearly historic split going on and basically tearing this party apart in the minds of many who observe?
Well, I think that it's troubling. It would be nice to have a consistent policy and point of view, but the conservatives are very concerned that any money that comes out of this is going to be used for the purpose of creating an de facto amnesty. I don't think they want that. And I think that really the correct policy needs to be to address this crisis on the southern border, to address the way that the American statutes are encouraging this crisis. If we have a statute in place that gives an amnesty to kids that are already here, that's fine. But the consequences are now we see more kids coming in. And there are tens of millions of people below the Mexican border that would love to have their kids here and taken care of. So I think that begs the real question, what is going to be the policy of the United States with respect to immigration and our southern border? And I think that's still unanswered.
With regard to these policies, then, it's fair to say that both sides are trying to get something done, but we do have to talk a little bit about what John Boehner is going through right now in what seems to be a nose-to-nose battle between he and Ted Cruz and others at this moment.
You bet.
What is it that is stopping these two very disparate parties at this moment from getting together? And I ask that as a Republican, yourself, who would then have to look at your party and see, honestly, the Democrats are laughing on the other side. They're going, look, the Republicans can't even get their act together. Why should we be worried or concerned about them? They'll just implode themselves.
But to be sure, it's very unusual to see a senator from the other chamber coming over and trying to shape policy in the House of Representatives. I've never seen anything quite like that. There are plenty of good conservatives in the House. But the main thing is for the Republican Party to send a solid message that we're concerned about our security on the southern border, that we want to have legislation that is welcoming to the Hispanic community, which is adding so much to the United States, but doesn't just create an open borders where we're totally out of control. And that might be exactly what's going on down there right now. So I believe that the members of the House want to see a solid piece of legislation that addresses these issues, and they don't think they've seen it yet.
Let's talk a little bit about fundraising here, because Republicans certainly bring up President Obama's fundraising trips, and he has had many when the original bill failed to pass. Now, would this bill have passed perhaps if he had been in attendance? Would there really have been a difference?
I don't think we're seeing presidential leadership at this point that explains how we're going to solve these problems. He's asked for a giant amount of money, but there's a suspicion here that the amnesty type of provisions that are already in the code will now be extended to other people as well. Any reassurances that are sought that that's not the case are being slapped down. That's what's making the conservatives very uncomfortable. But let me answer your point directly. We do need solid, aggressive, direct, clear presidential leadership to address this and other crises facing the country. Look what happened when we saw some of the crises in the Middle East and also in the Ukraine. The president addresses it briefly and then goes off to do fundraising in New York. Now we have a crisis on the southern border that the American people are demanding be addressed, and he goes off and does more fundraising. There's got to be more to governance in this country and decisive leadership in this country than just raising money for your political party. We have to have a solid, clear direction and program from the president that shows the country where we're trying to go in a satisfactory way. And we're not getting that right now.
What then is it that the Republicans can do, or those who would like to get this president to sit at his desk, get things done, not go out and fundraise? What is it that they can do? What is it that, in your opinion, they should be doing right now that would be decisive action that would really show that the Republicans and those who want real immigration reform, want to take care of the borders, can do to get this president to listen? Because, frankly, it doesn't seem to many people as if he will listen to anybody at this stage of the game.
It would certainly be better if we had a solid conservative Republican leader in the White House articulating a national sense of direction. We're used to that in the United States. But in lieu of that, and if we don't have that, then I think that we need to have the Republican leadership and the Republican members of the House of Representatives decisively stating their positions on the southern border crisis, the question of whether or not we're going to have a general unified amnesty, which I believe we should not have. We need to be addressing this crisis in the Middle East, and most importantly, we need to be addressing the issue of how we can get our economy back on track, stop all this high unemployment that's going on, give real opportunities for young people to have careers. Larry Kudlow and I agree on the point that you have to have a growth program for the United States, and today we don't have that either. So there is going to be a time in the near future, in this election and others, where we can point a solid direction for the people of the United States that I think will be appealing.
Governor, you alluded to Ted Cruz a few moments ago, and again, I did point him out as well at the top of this interview. Is he part of the solution or part of the problem?
Senator Cruz, I think, has to put forward a positive message about where we're trying to go. Right now, he's been in the House, and it seems that he is stopping any kind of legislation. If this legislation is suspected to be a disguised amnesty program, then I think I'm in agreement that that kind of legislation ought to be stopped. But I don't think that that's what this bill offered by the Speaker is intended to do. And meanwhile, I think Senator Cruz has sent no real vision about what he thinks the positive response ought to be for our country. And meanwhile, the House is not offered that yet either.
With no real vision, then, is he torpedoing himself perhaps for any future in the party as future party leadership is concerned, and at the same time then torpedoing others around him who may be trying to actually do something come midterms? And let's not forget, look forward to 2016.
Well, that's right. And let's, we don't know yet whether he's torpedoing himself. Depends on a lot of how this comes out. And I think he is trying to make an appeal to conservatives and to the sense of disquiet in the American population about the crises on the southern border. Let's remember, the people of the United States simply want a reasonable approach that protects our borders, that makes sure that we're in control of the situation, but I think also does not send a hostile message to the Hispanic community of the United States. I don't think we need to do that or should be doing that. But we're not having that right now. And in the meanwhile, I think that Senator Cruz so far has merely stopped legislation. I don't think he's really articulated what needs to be done.
Let's get down to perhaps something that needs to be done and what the governors are saying right now. I have in my hand an article from the Washington Post, and the title is What 10 Governors Are Saying About Housing Undocumented Immigrant Children in Their States. And these are both Republicans and Democrats. Here's just a quick example. From John Hickenlooper in Colorado, a Democrat, resources are limited. From Dan Malloy, a Democrat in Connecticut, our facility is not equipped to handle the children. From a Democrat, Delaware Governor Jack Markell, the state can't but private groups may. And from Iowa Governor Terry Branstad, a Republican, let's focus on securing the border. These governors are angry right now because they have children by the hundreds. They have illegals that are being housed in their state. The government is saying to them, don't worry about the cost. The governors are saying, wait a minute, we have to house them, we have to feed them, we have to protect them, we have to educate them. These governors are angry right now. What, if anything, can they do at this point to stop what are really becoming secret border states?
And I was the governor of Virginia and responsible for what went on in my state and constantly in touch with the federal government as they were trying to do things in my state, and we tried to keep it all on the positive side. I think there is a discomfort with housing kids, but with no sense of real direction about where these kids are going to go or stay. Until we articulate that, the governors are saying, well, this is just an open-ended program that's within my state that I'm uncomfortable with. At the end of the day, we need to have a solid statement of what our policy is with respect to immigration, whether these kids are going to go back or whether they're going to stay, what we're going to do to secure the border and get in control of our own future. I don't think anybody on the conservative or the liberal side wants to send a message of anger or unhappiness towards kids. But at the end of the day, when I was governor, I traveled down to South America and saw so many kids down there in school in great impoverished positions. I know that their parents would love to pay a criminal to transport them over the Mexican border to the United States for them to have a better life. But this is tens of millions of kids south of the Mexican border. If we start a policy that encourages that, where's the end to it? And I think the American people are entitled to an answer to that question.
We will leave it at that. Governor, thank you so much for joining us. We will do it again, sir.
Great, thank you very much.
Later this hour, what the NFL would prefer we not talk about as the exhibition season begins.